first, I want to start by saying thank you to our month since we quarantined in March. We miss seeing our friends, the daily greetings and face-to-face conversations that we took for granted have been replaced by webcam meetings, little windows into each other's homes. When we meet this way, we often talk about how COVID-19 and world events are affecting our team and our families. And one of the hardest parts is dealing with a feeling of helplessness. Initially, we struggled with maintaining a sense of purpose, but ultimately, we draw inspiration from all of you. I just received our Shadowlands Collector's Edition. You can see on the spine of the box, looks like all the collector's editions you've seen before, except we have these full color Covenant emblems on the side. So it'll look great on the shelf with the other collector's editions. One of the really cool things about this box is the front cover. It's literally exploding with color. This recreates the moment when Sylvanas broke the sky above Ice Crown Citadel, and you can see that cool reflective material. Inside, you have the Epic Edition. We did one just for Shadowlands, but here's the art book. Beautiful 4-color art on every page. I'm sorry, full color art on every page, but it has all the concept art and a lot of great imagery that are unique to Shadowlands. And so you can also celebrate Shadowlands at your desk or home office. We have Shadowlands mouse pad. Matches the background behind me. And then my favorite component for this is we actually have a collector's pin collection. This contains a pin for each of the covenants: Kyrian, Venthyr, Necrolords, and Night Fae. To tell you more about our upcoming beta, I'd like to introduce our game director, Ian Hazakostas. On behalf of the WoW team, thank you again for your support.
Let's talk a little bit about what is coming up in the beta ahead and Shadowlands in general. So first, I want to look back at the 3 months since we launched our alpha. Just about 3 months ago to this day, the alpha began. Footage of people playing the alpha they can get their hands on, often watching people who get turned around or confused or stuck trying to climb up a hill that looks like it should be climbable, and they're instantly going in, fixing those areas for the next build the next week. Every part of the game, our character artists who are looking at reactions to character customizations that are going out and hearing what people are most excited about, what they wish they could have, what options are missing, and doing what they can to add that. So I can't thank all of you enough, both the people who are in the alpha who have been testing there for us, but also those who are sharing their thoughts as part of the broader community conversation. The work that goes into Shadowlands is, as much yours as it is ours, truly. So now, turning the corner, looking ahead to what the next weeks will hold as we move into our beta. So what does beta mean? For us, beta certainly means the game's not done, but the framework is there and is complete. There shouldn't be missing pieces, giant missing ones where there's an entire feature that's not there, or there's a zone that's not yet playable. While those things are true, we continue to call it alpha. But we're getting very close to pretty much the framework all being intact, being present. And so the level cap is going to go up to 60 when beta begins. It's also going to mean a first look at our endgame systems, at truly joining a covenant, at visiting your covenant sanctum, playing through that content, playing through our outdoor world max level content, our max level dungeons, our raids, experiencing soulbinds, and more. And there's a lot of work still to be done to flesh out the details of these systems, but everything should be there, and that's why we are now calling it beta. Now, perhaps most importantly for many of you, this also means a big new invite way of going out. That's going to start next week, and a process that will continue as we also want to maintain a lot of concurrency on our test servers so we can get feedback on what zones feel like when there are dozens or hundreds of people in there competing over spawns, trying to do quests together. So make sure to go to our Battle.net account options, check your settings there, make sure that you're opted in to Warcraft beta if that interests you, and be patient. Don't get frustrated if you don't get an email from us right away. We will continue to do invites over the course of the summer. And as John said, of course, this kicks off next week. So I want to take the rest of our time together just to talk a bit about some of the things that you're going to be seeing as part of that endgame loop. Some of this is stuff that we haven't really had a chance to say much about since BlizzCon, and so I wanted to just share some more details and how the designs have evolved since we last discussed them. So first off, covenants. As we have said at great length, covenants are the centerpiece of Shadowlands, the Shadowlands expansion. This is where all roads lead. As you journey through the zones of the Shadowlands, you will play through all 4 zones. You will meet the 4 controlling powers of the Shadowlands. You get a chance to borrow their powers, get a sense of their personalities, their ethos, their aesthetic. And at the end of that road, when you hit level 60, what awaits you is this fateful choice as you return to Oribos, now fully understanding the stakes that are affecting the Shadowlands and really all of existence, and choose whether you want to cast your lot with the Kyrian of Bastion, the Venthyr of Revendreth, the Necrolords of Maldraxxus, or the Night Fae of Ardenweald. And as you make that choice, what that means is unlocking an entire sphere of gameplay and content for you. What we've seen so first off, one of the most prominent immediate things you're going to experience is soulbinds. So soulbinding is this ancient ritual in the Shadowlands whereby 2 souls can link themselves to each other, sharing a portion of their identity, of their memories, and also of their powers. And so as you join a covenant, you'll be able to form soulbinds with certain key powerful souls that are affiliated with that covenant. These will be characters with vibrant, memorable personalities, many of which you will have met while leveling up and while questing through those zones. So here, I'm going to use the Venthyr and Revendreth for a lot of these upcoming examples because that's the first covenant that we're going to have playable in an upcoming build. Nadia, the Mistblade, she was a renowned duelist in life, and that persona really shapes all of her abilities and the ways in which she's going to enhance your combat ability, grant you utility, and more. And so what each soulbind represents, as you can see in this slide, it's effectively a talent tree that you will traverse down as you gain power in your covenant. You can pick which path you want to go down, customize your gameplay, customize those abilities to suit your gameplay. Now, as you join the Sanctum, as you join the Covenant, a key way in which you're going to progress within your Covenant is by gaining Renown. Renown will deepen your connection with your soulbinds. It will also unlock a wide range of features, rewards, followers, which we'll talk about in a little bit, cosmetics, and more. You'll earn Renown by, on a weekly basis, going out into the world, gathering anima, this precious lifeblood of the Shadowlands that every covenant is starving for, or by going into the Maw and rescuing tormented souls. So each covenant has a sanctum. Now these are, there's loose inspiration is drawn here from things like the garrisons back in Warlords or the class halls in Legion. Each sanctum is the base of operations for that covenant, and this is a place where you're actually likely to begin and end most of your gameplay sessions once you're at max level. Another structure that every covenant has is something called an anima conductor. So as I've mentioned, part of the plight of the Shadowlands is this lack of anima. Groves in Ardenweald that were once flourishing with magical energy are now desiccated, withered. Temples in Bastion lie dormant, deactivated. The constructs that once guarded them are inactive. Anima is the answer to all of those things. And so what you're doing as you bring it back to your covenant and to your sanctum is pooling it in a reservoir, but you also have the ability to direct the flow of anima outward toward your zone to regrow, reactivate these dormant parts of the space. The third system that every covenant has is a scouting map. This is an extension of the mission system that we first introduced back in Warlords of Draenor, and we've kind of tinkered with that formula a couple times since then. And I think the basic loop there, we've moved away from its central importance that it had in Warlords, and I think we're not looking to go back to have previously. Really is just, it boils down to a coin flip. You're doing a simple matching game, matching counters to threats, and maybe you get up to 170% success chance to get your bonus reward and hope you get lucky. And really, if you didn't, there's nothing you could have done better, nothing you did right or wrong, and you either succeed or fail. As before, adventures will also be supported in our mobile companion app, which will be updated for Shadowlands at the time of the expansion's release. Now, those 3 features that I just talked about are something that every covenant has access to. They are universal. But each covenant also has a 4th structure that is unique depending on which covenant you've joined. Now, finally, if you're a member of the Night Fae of Ardenweald, Ardenweald contains in its innermost reaches a sacred grove known as the Queen's Conservatory. This is where powerful souls effectively germinate, rest, are infused with the surrounding energies of the forest, and are prepared for rebirth and return to the world of the living, because that is the essential function, one of the essential properties of Ardenweald. Now, the form that that takes for you as a player, this is effectively a soul garden, and it is inspired and has some parallels to the farm back in Mists of Pandaria, where you are tending. Now, some other new content. We are going to have, coming up, our last dungeon that we have not yet revealed, a max level dungeon called the Theater of Pain. Theater of Pain is a dungeon in the center of Maldraxxus, and this is really, and as with all things Maldraxxus, the prevailing decor here is super metal, so expect more of that as you enter this dungeon. Next up, we are going to be revisiting the outdoor space of the Maw. So this is really where it all began for us in the Shadowlands. We just saw a couple of weeks ago in Alpha, that initial venture into the Maw, the domain of the Jailer, as we went in from Icecrown Citadel, not knowing what was going to await us on the other side. What we found was a horrific array of forces that we can't. We have some work to do to finish fleshing out the structures that we just described, but most of the rest is going to be polish, responding to feedback, iteration, and finally, tuning. I'm going to talk a little bit about tuning because I know it's a hot topic. Balance is always, the most controversial, one of the most central topics in community discussion, and has been forever in WoW. Tuning is the last thing that we do. In the early parts of Alpha and Beta, we're basically just looking for extreme outliers where things might be so far out of whack that they disrupt the feedback that we get. If something is so overpowered that it trivializes content, well, we have to fix that. Otherwise, all of our feedback on, let's say, Torghast is going to be tainted because someone's walking through one-shotting things. Or if something is so weak that it doesn't matter if it's theoretically fun, it feels terrible to use, or no one wants to use it, we don't get feedback on it, we need to fix that. But beyond that, we really want to focus first on shoring up the conceptual foundations of what we're building. We want to make sure that the abilities, the systems, and everything else feel fun, that they sound exciting as ideas. And then once we've gotten to a place where we're confident in those foundations, So I just want to say thank you. Thank you for joining us today. And I also want to thank you all for your patience. We'd originally planned on doing this stream a month ago. And back then we would have had somewhat different material, but we postponed it then to avoid distracting from a more important conversation. But of course, that conversation is still happening. Injustice doesn't cease just because we look away. Black Lives Mattered a month ago, Black Lives Matter today. And if that phrase is difficult to hear, know that I and others who speak those words aren't saying that your life has any less worth. We're only calling attention to the ways in which our societies seem to need a reminder that Black Lives Matter. Now, as John said earlier, these are extraordinarily difficult times. We all have our own struggles, and we can often help by simply listening with open hearts. So be kind to one another, stay safe, and we'll see you in Azeroth and in the Shadowlands beyond. Thank you.